She thought she'd found someone who understood her. He saw someone he could control. When her body was found, the truth began to unravel, layer by chilling layer, but nearly a decade after his conviction, one man's legal battle threatened to turn the entire case on its head. And the question still lingers: was justice built on broken rules or on something far darker? Today's case takes us to Ireland, lush, green, full of charm. But this story isn't about beauty or history. It's about a woman who disappeared and a mystery that gripped the country. It's 2013. Elaine O'Hara has been missing for a year. No clues, no breakthroughs. Her family are left staring into silence, fearing they may never get answers. But people don't just vanish. There's always a reason, and someone out there wanted to find it. Welcome to Unveiled Crime Mysteries channel, where I unveil mysterious true crimes, some lost to time, others fresh in memory. Justice might not be served, but the shadow is unveiled. Elaine was 36. She worked in childcare and picked up shifts at a newsagent's in Blackrock shopping centre. Friendly, liked by everyone, but beneath that she struggled. Mental health problems had followed her since her teens, always open about it, always trying to cope. When it got too much, she checked herself into the hospital. Her colleagues knew. One day she reached for something at work, and her top lifted bandages across her stomach. She brushed it off, said it was nothing. She was incredibly close to her dad, Frank. They spoke every day. She'd see him several times a week. 14th July 2012. Elaine rang the hospital. She wasn't okay. She was admitted for mental health support. A few weeks in, she was set to go home. Doctors said she was doing better, but the night before her discharge, she opened up to a nurse. She was upset. A man kept turning up at her flat. He had a key. The nurse told her, "If he's harassing you, you need to tell the police." Elaine shook her head, said no, he has kids. She'd also told a colleague she was seeing a married man who treated her badly. 22nd August 2012. She left the hospital. Her friend Jane spoke to her, said she was upbeat, excited to volunteer at a festival in Dublin. That same day, she had lunch with her dad, then went to Shanganagh Cemetery to place flowers on her mum's grave. They said goodbye around 4 p.m. Elaine needed to be up early the next day, but she never showed. She was supposed to meet her dad's partner for a lift to the festival. She didn't turn up. Frank went to her flat. Her iPhone was on charge. It looked like she'd just forgotten it, maybe rushed out. But as the hours passed and still nothing, he sent the same text he always did when one of the kids went quiet. "Are you alive?" No reply, just silence. Next morning, her phone was still there. Her car was gone. Frank went to the police. Detective Garda Alton Sherlock started at the apartment. He noticed things: rope, chains, a black latex suit, then her diary, a reference to a BDSM website. Her profile read, "Hi, I hate these things, as I think you never really know a person until you meet them. So, well, here it goes." Searches carried on. Elaine had been wearing a blue zip-up navy tracksuit bottoms and white trainers. Her turquoise Fiat Punto turned up on 24th August, parked in Shanganagh Cemetery. A woman had seen someone crying there that day. She never saw the face, but she never forgot it. A jogger confirmed the last sighting. Elaine had asked for directions to a bridge over the railway. It was 5:40 p.m. He passed her again later. She was on the bridge, stopped, then nothing. The trail was cold. Police made an appeal.
Finally, you're also looking for help in trying to track down a missing person.
Yeah, Elaine O'Hara, she's been missing for just over a month now. She went missing on the 22nd of August. We have found Elaine's car, but it hasn't given us any clues as to Elaine's whereabouts at the moment. She's about 5'4". She's 36 years of age, and there's an excellent picture of her there on the screen.
Weeks passed, then months. Still no answers. 21st August, 2013. A woman was walking her dogs in the foothills of the Dublin Mountains. It was private land, locked off. She had access. One dog came running with bones. She thought they were animal, moved them aside, carried on. 13th September, same walk, same spot. She saw more bones, tracksuit bottoms, something inside, like a shoe. One of the dogs had large bones in its mouth. This time she felt it. Something wasn't right. She called Frank Doyle, the landowner. She brought him and another man to the scene. Then they saw it, a jawbone. The police arrived. When the woman returned with them, she spotted something else, the blade of a knife wedged into the earth. The scene was locked down. Frank spoke up. He remembered something odd. Sometime between September 2011 and January 2012, he'd been walking the same woods, saw string tied to branches, a plastic sheet, bits of bags, a stick with nails, a jar of Vaseline. The skeletal remains were officially found on Kiltechy Mountain, near Rathfarnham, South Dublin. Dental records confirmed it. Elaine O'Hara. Only 65% of her remains were recovered. Her skull and hands were never found. Cause of death, undetermined, but now it was murder. Then a coincidence. 10th September 2013, just days before the bones were found. Not far away, something strange surfaced. A local angler, with his brother and another man, was out checking for illegal fishing near the Vartry Reservoir. The water had dropped to under 20 inches after a blazing summer. Usually it was over 15 feet deep. They noticed something sticking out of the water. One man used a hook tied to a rope. They pulled out handcuffs, clothing, a restraint, all laid out on the wall. The next day, uneasy, one of the men returned. The items were still there. He drove to Roundwood Garda Station. 1 p.m., dropped everything off. 12th September, Garda James O'Donoghue visited the reservoir. The wind was up. The water was dark. He saw nothing. 14th September, he came back, got closer to the edge, still nothing. 16th September, calm weather. He looked again, and there they were, handcuffs in the water. He waded in, pulled out a set of keys, Elaine's keys. One of them had a store loyalty card, but that wasn't all. There was a knife, a chain with a ring, an inhaler. They traced the card. It belonged to Elaine. Another card did too. They ran her name through the system. She'd been missing over a year. That morning, the remains had just been confirmed. The scene was sealed off. Search teams dove in. More items emerged. A Nokia phone, then another, a dressing gown, 2 SIM cards, shorts, a rucksack, glasses. The prescription on the glasses, Elaine's. In 2012, the reservoir had overflowed after weeks of rain. The following year, a heat wave. The water dropped to record lows, the driest summer since 1995. That drop revealed everything. On 21st September, just 500 yards from where Elaine's remains had been discovered, the Gardaí searched another area. What they found painted a horrifying picture: a shovel, tape, hacksaw blades, cable ties, clothes, shorts, trousers. It was grim. Investigators believed this was where Elaine had been taken by her killer. This might have been the place where her life ended. Her phones had been pulled from water, submerged for more than a year. Ruined, maybe, but police had to try. Forensics kicked in. Against all odds, they powered on. Not only that, but they lit up with hundreds of messages. A window into her final week, a secret relationship, 2 phones, each with the other's number saved, one labeled MSTR, the other SLV, master and slave, roughly 250 texts between them, violent, twisted, fantasies about rape, stabbing, murder. "I'll stab you next year. Not if I get my way," she replied. "You don't get your way. What if only one? It will set my recovery back. You need to understand it's something I want. I'm sorry, sir. I will miss you." There were 2 numbers involved. The master phone ended in 086. The second, ending in 083, was a burner, pay as you go. That phone was never recovered, but on 17th August 2012, a message was sent from it. "Did a huge walk up to the Dublin mountains the other day, very lonely hill walkers up there, just to find a route back with no cameras, and I'm sorted." Elaine would later be found in the foothills of those same mountains. On the day she vanished, she had texted, "Please don't mention killing for a while, just until I settle back in life, sir." So, who was this man? They began to trace the phones, which towers they'd pinged, which roads they'd traveled. Soon they were narrowing in. A car, registered to a man who worked in central Dublin, lived in the south of the city. His phones had moved through South Dublin, Bago Street, and there were strange messages about flying. Detective Sergeant Peter Woods recalled too, was up flying at the weekend, skeleton ribcage where the knife went in, want to do a woman next. It was about a sheep he had stabbed. Another read, terrible weekend, 15% pay cut, and came 5th into flying. So they asked, was he a pilot? But no, someone had a better theory. What if he flew model planes? They checked a model flying competition listed by the Aeronautical Society of Ireland, dated 11th June. They looked at the rankings. There it was, 5th place, a name, and it jumped off the page. It was written in Elaine's diary. They searched the Garda Pulses system. The same man had reported 2 bikes stolen from a business on Bago Street. The location lined up, the job lined up. It was an architectural firm. Then it clicked. Elaine's friend had said she was in a violent relationship with an architect. It all started falling into place.
17th October 2013.
7:70 a.m. Graham Dwyer, 41 years old, married, 3 children, arrested, suspected of murdering Elaine O'Hara. A massive search of his home began. Items were seized. He was interviewed 5 times in 24 hours. Still, he denied everything. "I know what you're getting at, but I didn't kill anybody. I'm worried about my wife and job. I'm worried about being associated with this case. I will say nothing about this case. I have nothing to do with it. I want to go home." But detectives weren't buying it. They knew he knew Elaine. Officers had collected items from the bins outside his family home. A container of car wax, DNA matched to a sample on Elaine's mattress. That mattress had puncture marks, blood stains. Detective Sergeant Peter Woods was in the room. He said Graham acted like they were stupid, but they played him, fed his ego, got him talking. His job, his life, model flying, every detail helped them track his movements. Phone records kept lining up with places he had been. The Guro 83 burner phone, registered using a variation of a friend's name, claimed it was his sister's address. The backup number, his real one, only 1 digit off. The Guro 86 master phone, it traveled when he did. CCTV from Elaine's apartment was scoured, over 200 days, then pay dirt. 23rd June 2012, Elaine enters at 6:54 p.m. 10 minutes later, a man follows, covers his hand pressing the lift button, keeps his back to the camera, leaves at 8:18 p.m. A week before Elaine was last seen, he enters again, a rucksack on his back, identical to the one found at the reservoir. He was asked where he was on 22nd August 2012, the day Elaine disappeared. He said he couldn't remember, so they showed him the CCTV. He said, "I'm glad I'm not murdering anyone in any of those photographs. I didn't kill anyone." Eventually he admitted to a BDSM relationship. He was the dominant, she was the submissive. Why was his DNA in her flat? "I can understand how you found it, but I didn't kill anybody. I wouldn't be surprised if you found my hair or fingerprints there." At one stage she asked me to kill her. When accused of leaving her body somewhere so he could revisit it, he snapped. That was a disgusting accusation. Digital evidence started locking him in. 2 phones, central to the case. Their message history told a deeply disturbing story. They'd known each other for years. A trail of messages, emails and profiles led back to a username, Architect72. It was linked to an email address, Fetish Boy. Elaine's profile, Submissive391. The digital breadcrumbs were undeniable. In an email sent by Fetish Boy on 19th September 2008, he wrote, "Get in touch anytime for a chat or for the simple harmless things you like to do. Take care. Kiss, sir." There were over 2,500 messages exchanged in 18 months. Dwyer denied both phones were his, but the texts were clear. He wanted Elaine to find someone he could stab, or let him stab her. Their contact broke off in 2009, until 25th March 2011. He messaged, "Hi Elaine, hope you're keeping well." She replied, "Who is this please?" From there it resumed, and fast. The messages turned darker. "I want to stick my knife in flesh while I am sexually aroused. I would like to stab a girl to death sometime. My urge to rape, stab or kill is huge. You have to help me control or satisfy it." March 2011, Elaine asked, "Any news on baby?" referring to his pregnant wife. "Not yet, has to happen this week, anytime now. When are you free next?" Next day, "You still on? Wife not in labor or anything?" He replied, "So far so good, got fake knives." "Lucky me," she said. "Lucky you if I don't use the other one." 30th March, "Went well today, sir. I take it you're now a daddy again. Thanks for last night, sir. Really needed it." Next day, "Yes, beautiful baby girl. Glad you enjoyed the other night. Many more sessions to come. See you sometime over the weekend."
That same month, Elaine had met another man online, Robert. She later said she was pregnant, but she lost the baby. What Graham was accused of was beyond horrific. The messages were vile, but who was he? Born September 1972, described as easygoing, popular, a childhood in scouts, weekend jobs, playing bass in a band, studied architecture in Dublin, had a son with a girlfriend, met Gemma in 1997. They married, renovated a home, featured in the Irish Times. He even appeared on TV, Beyond the Hall Door. so the natural light coming around the mirror lights you to give it an even image. He was articulate, smart, into tech, cars, model planes, but there were early signs. The mother of his son said he once fantasized about stabbing a woman during sex. He'd brought a knife into the bedroom, acted out the motion. She later saw the CCTV footage, recognized the man, Graham. He was told. He scoffed. "Oh my God, I'd say she enjoyed reading that. She wants to hurt me." 21st August. Days before Elaine vanished, she texted the 083 phone. She was anxious, excited to leave hospital, but worried she couldn't cope. The reply chilled. "If it doesn't work out this time, the way out is through me." That same day, a Buck Special hunting knife arrived at Graham's office. He'd asked for it to be marked private and confidential. Elaine hadn't been seen since the day she was discharged from hospital. That same day, Graham got in touch. He warned her she'd be punished for going. A big punishment, he said. He told her to leave her phone behind, drive to Shangana Park, park the car, cross the bridge, head toward the shore, and wait. "You have a big punishment coming up, getting knifed in the guts. You will be well bound and gagged, tied to a tree deep in the forest. I have a spot picked out. If not that," he threatened something even more sinister, "or go to the woods, or take off your clothes, stab you, bury you, leave your clothes in your car by the sea, and it looks like you drowned." Shangana Park is sprawling. Elaine began walking, trying to locate the bridge Graham had told her about. That's when she stopped a jogger and asked for directions. Later that day, October 18, 2013, Graham's work phone pinged a tower in Dublin at 4:55 p.m. Then, nothing. The phone went dark. When it lit up again, at 8:59 p.m., it was hitting a tower in Foxrock. It had likely been switched off in those missing hours. In the meantime, he was using the master phone, the one he used to contact Elaine. Graham Dwyer was eventually charged with Elaine O'Hara's murder. He applied for bail, but the Supreme Court rejected it. He had pleaded not guilty. With the media circling like vultures, his trial was always going to be volatile and emotional. Graham, however, chose not to take the stand. Before proceedings began, the judge warned everyone present this trial would be difficult, the evidence disturbing. The defense was blunt. No proof he killed her, no stab wounds on her skeleton. Maybe she took her own life, but the prosecution shut that theory down immediately. If she died by suicide, why were her keys, her clothes, her belongings found miles away at a reservoir? Elaine's fragile mental health, the prosecution said, made her the perfect target. Her death could easily be written off, not as murder, but as tragedy. Then came the hard drive. It was found on Graham's property. It held documents, dark, violent stories about rape and murder. The defense claimed they were just fantasies, but the prosecution called them blueprints. Worse still, there were videos, graphic ones, women being stabbed during sex. Elaine was in one. She was screaming. At the end of the footage, Graham said, "Now that wasn't bad, was it?" Police were working to identify the other women in the videos. They'd all been blindfolded. They had no idea they were being filmed. A woman from the US, Darcy, testified. She met Graham online. He told her he'd kill her, but only if she asked him to. It wasn't just a sick joke. This was a pattern. In June 2011, Graham had asked Elaine to scope out isolated properties that needed renovation. He wanted to find a female auctioneer to target. Other possible victims he mentioned: drunk girls heading home after a night out, homeless women, sex workers, even a woman who worked just across from his office. The messages painted a terrifying picture. His threats were growing darker. He was manipulative and controlling. His phones, the prosecution said, were like his shadow. They revealed everything. One message read, "Stabbing a dead sheep. Want to do a woman next. It was a fantastic feeling. So happy." Another, "It's a tough choice. Either you let me stab you or help me do it to someone else." He talked of perfect plans. She pushed back. "You know there's no such thing as a perfect plan." He shot back. "Lots of people have stabbed and got away with it. Why not me?" She begged, "Please, I have to think and decide. Please stop." This wasn't new. The injuries a co-worker had once seen on Elaine's stomach dated back to 2008. The prosecution said Graham had inflicted those too. His urges weren't random. They were deep-rooted, violent, sexual satisfaction through stabbing. When Elaine once tried to break away, told him she wanted to be a mother, he offered to father the child if she helped him find someone to kill. "A life for a life," he said. She refused. He offered money. She refused again. That's when he turned nasty, told her no one would ever love her. Elaine's father recalled one morning in 2008, they'd had a row about money. She'd said she was seeing someone, a professional. Her dad asked if the man was married. She said yes. Then she admitted he tied her up for sex. Her father wept in court. The man, she'd said, was an architect. Then Graham's wife Gemma took the stand. She was shaken. She had no idea about this side of her husband. She mentioned a shovel that vanished from their garden, the same one police later found, splattered with paint. Gemma thought it matched their fence painting job, but forensics said otherwise. On the day Elaine's body was found, she and Graham had been out for a birthday dinner in Dublin. She was certain about the date. He'd acted completely normal. Just months after Elaine vanished, Graham even appeared in the audience of the Late Late Show. By day 39 of the trial, the end was in sight. Justice Tony Hunt denied a defense motion to exclude some of the evidence. He said the facts were clear. Graham and Elaine were close. They had a sexual relationship, and Graham had used the phone with the 083 number. He referred to the identical bag pulled from the reservoir, the same kind seen in Elaine's flat. He spoke about the master phone's silence after her disappearance. Graham had hounded Elaine with messages, feeding her sick fantasies. The judge said the case revealed a disturbing side of Graham Dwyer. As for the suicide theory, he dismissed it. Her medication hadn't been touched. She'd made no mention of suicidal thoughts to any doctor or pharmacist. Those comments were made outside the jury's hearing. The trial lasted
43 days, 104 witnesses were called.
In a closing argument lasting 3 hours, the prosecution painted a damning picture. Graham Dwyer had the motive, the desire, and the plan to kill Elaine O'Hara. Her vulnerability had been weaponized. Her only wish, the prosecution said, was simple: not to be stabbed, not to be beaten. What she wanted was love, companionship, maybe a child. When the jury retired, the judge told them, "Leave sentiment and emotion at the door." 7.5 hours later, they returned. The verdict: guilty. Graham Dwyer looked stunned. He closed his eyes, shook his head. The judge thanked the jury for enduring horrific evidence. He said he 110% agreed with their verdict, a rare move. He expressed sympathy for Gemma, Graham's wife, saying she'd been most cruelly deceived. "We may be thankful," the judge said, "that a dangerous man is now out of the way." Graham Dwyer was sentenced to life in prison. Afterward, Gemma said her thoughts and condolences were with the O'Hara family. Police began re-examining other cases, including that of 17-year-old Raina Murray, who was stabbed to death after a night out. Graham and Elaine had referenced the case in their texts, but to this day, Raina's murder remains unsolved. Detective Sergeant Peter Woods said no video of Elaine's murder was found, but he believed it existed. Graham had asked for photos of stab wounds. He craved that kind of violence. Woods was certain Graham had filmed it, and he was equally sure of this: if he hadn't been caught, he would have killed again. "I don't believe he killed before," Woods said, "but that's my opinion. What I do know is offenders like this build up. They commit the act, then they lie low. But the urges don't go away. They come back stronger." The night before his arrest, Graham had been watching disturbing content on his phone. Really gruesome stuff, Woods said. It came out in court that, back in 2011, Graham messaged a woman on Facebook offering to help build a house on a remote bit of land. He visited regularly, even alone, taking loads of photos. She found it odd, but shrugged it off, until she heard what he'd been arrested for. "Thank God I'm not buried up there," she said. "It makes my blood run cold." Finally, there was one more moment that stuck with Detective Woods. Graham had been in custody for a while, trying to get bail. In court they sat close. Graham turned to him, smiled, and said, "How are you, Peter? How's it going?" Woods said he was grand. Graham replied, "They have me working in the kitchen. I didn't think they'd give me access to knives so quickly."
Graham Dwyer wasn't finished. Years after being convicted, he launched an appeal, not over guilt or innocence, but over the phone data.
An opinion published by an advisor to Europe's top court has strengthened the case taken by convicted murderer Graham Dwyer over the retention and accessing of his mobile phone data. If the judgment of the Court of Justice of the EU follows the same lines as the opinion, it could have significant implications for the investigation of serious crime across Europe.
Dwyer had been convicted in 2015. Elaine had died in August 2012. Phone records had played a key role, showing where his device had been, who he contacted when. But the laws that allowed this data to be kept came from an EU directive that was later scrapped. In 2018, Ireland's High Court ruled the law invalid, too sweeping, too invasive. Earlier this year, the issue went to the Court of Justice of the EU. In Luxembourg, Ireland stood firm. The state said phone data was critical to upholding the law. 13 other countries backed them. Dwyer's lawyers said it went too far. The Spanish Advocate General issued an opinion. It wasn't binding, but it mattered. He said keeping everyone's phone records just in case was only lawful to protect national security, not to investigate serious crime. He said the Irish law, allowing 2 years of storage without oversight, broke EU rules. If the court agreed, the case would return to Ireland's Supreme Court, and the pressure would be back on.
Orla, what is this all likely to mean for Graham Dwyer's appeal?
Well, almost 7 years on from his conviction, Katrina, Graham Dwyer's appeal has still not been heard, and lawyers are obviously waiting for the final outcome in these proceedings. Now, if the Advocate General's opinion is endorsed by the full judgment of the court, it will bolster his appeal, and it's certainly likely then that the Supreme Court will rule in his favour and uphold the previous High Court judgment in his favour. But that's not the end of the matter. His case then has to go to the Court of Appeal. And the Court of Appeal will then look at the grounds of appeal. It will hear arguments from both sides before it makes its decision. And it will make a decision about whether or not the mobile phone metadata should have been admitted as evidence in Dwyer's original trial in 2015. And also what impact that will have on his conviction, if any. Because obviously while the mobile phone metadata was important, it wasn't the only evidence in the trial. And it wasn't the only circumstantial evidence considered by the jury at the trial. So there is a long way to go yet. And a favourable decision for Graham Dwyer in the Court of Justice of the EU does not necessarily mean that he'll be successful in overturning his conviction.
The family of Elaine O'Hara have said they hope she can now rest in peace following the dismissal of her murderer's last-ditch Supreme Court appeal against his conviction. The court unanimously ruled that the evidence of mobile phone metadata was admissible in Graham Dwyer's trial in 2015. He will now continue to serve a life sentence for murder.
Dwyer had challenged the phone records, claimed they never should have been allowed in. But the judges were clear. They'd looked at the bigger picture. Even without the phone data, the rest of the evidence told the same story. The texts, the timing, and the phones linked to Dwyer. It was overwhelming. The green phone, the master phone, the slave phone, all connected, all pointing to him. The court's decision was final. There'd be no retrial, no acquittal. Dwyer would stay exactly where he was, serving life. Elaine's family said they hoped she could finally rest. Her killer's last move had failed, and it had to be said, this was never about BDSM. It wasn't about kinks or lifestyle. It was about power. It was about exploitation. Healthy BDSM is built on trust, consent, respect. Elaine never got that. What she got was control. What she got was cruelty. What happened to her wasn't about preference. It was about being hunted by a man who saw her vulnerability as a weapon to use. Her family lives with that every day. They spoke of the messages, how it felt to read them, how it felt to hear her plead. She just wanted to be loved. The horror of what she suffered, what she was made to endure, is now their life sentence. For us, there is no parole. What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments. For more real stories daily, subscribe, turn on notifications, and we'll see you next time. There's always another case to be unveiled. Remember,